Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Novel Knits. My name is Dehnel and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what I'm knitting and what I'm reading. Thanks so much for joining me today, especially if you're a returning viewer. Thank you. I know it's been a long, unexpected break. I will get to why I've been away, but thank you so much for coming back. It means a lot to me. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you like it here and that you want to join in our conversation about knitting projects and what we're working on. Real quick, if you want to find me, I am Novel Knit Girl on Instagram and Ravelry, so you can find me there. Everything I talk about today will be listed below this video, so you can check there. It links right to my Ravelry pages for patterns. That also lists what yarn I use, and all the books that I talk about I will list at the very end. So if you're new, I tend to talk about a few personal things at the beginning, then I get into finished objects, works in progress, and then I talk about my book club at the end. And I'm trying to get good about saying goodbye to those of you who aren't interested in the book stuff, but we will get there. Okay, really quickly, I am not going to do any sort of 2023 recap. It ended in a bit of a fizzle for me, and I'll get to why, but I also didn't make any goals last year, which I missed not having goals. I'm more of an aspirational goal type of person. If I don't reach my goals, I'm okay. I love to have the goals to try to, to aspire to, but it doesn't really bother me if I don't totally reach it. I usually make my goals way higher than I think I can achieve, which I don't know why I do that, but I do. And I noticed that when I was looking at my goals for 2024 that I wrote down in October. And I'm gonna stick with these because I think they're good to have. The only kind of recap I will share from 2023 is that I read 93 books and my goal on Goodreads was 65. So I did blow my reading goal out of the water and I'm really excited about that. I've really been enjoying reading. I listen to books on Audible, I read physical books, and I'm really interested in trying a Kindle again. I had stopped using a Kindle when I was getting migraines, but I have not been getting migraines lately, so maybe I'll get another Kindle this year because I have a ton of books on a Kindle account that I could also read through. So my goals for 2024, I'm gonna start with a big one because I'm gonna do another make along around it. I am having a no yarn buying year. In years past, I would have thought this is impossible for me, and it has been impossible for me, but for some reason, I just feel like I'm here right now. I haven't bought yarn since before Thanksgiving. So I've already, I even looked for yarn to buy, and it's not that I haven't seen beautiful yarn that I think I want to purchase, but I've just really leaned into the fact that I have a lot of yarn in my house and I want to use it. I just, stuff that's been hanging around here that it's time, right? So in honor of that, we are going to do another Shop Your Stash. I did a Shop Your Stash year-long make-along in 2022, and we're going to do Shop Your Stash 2024. So it is open to everybody. You can knit or crochet, and all you have to do is use yarn that you've had in your stash prior to December 31st, 2023. I'm gonna be real off with my years today. So basically, if you bought yarn prior to January 1st of this year, you are more than welcome to join the make-along, knit, crochet, anything that you want. There's no rules. It can be tiny, it can be huge. And I'll say at least 75% of your project, because I know sometimes you run out of yarn or you maybe are doing a color work project and you need to buy a different color to make it work. As long as 75% of the yarn is stash yarn, you are good to go. So this will be on Instagram and Ravelry. Instagram hashtag will be listed below, but it will be Shop Your Stash 2024. And I hope you'll join me. And even if you're not having a no-buy year, anytime that you use stash yarn, feel free to join in the make-along and you can double dip in any other make-along. I think it's fun to enter as many as you can. So if you're making a shawl for a shawl along, but it's all stash yarn, enter it in mine as well. And this will be a year-long make-along. I'll have quarterly check-ins where I'll give away some pattern prizes, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. This is a new mug I got. I hope you can read it. It says, "I will not buy any yarn until I use my yarn at home," I said, and then I laughed and laughed and laughed. So this was from my husband and my kids for Christmas. this year I'm planning to do it though. We'll see what happens. I'm also planning not to buy patterns. This is gonna be a hard one for me. It is really, that's probably my Achilles heel, is when a designer has a sale or I see something I really want and I think, okay, I'm gonna just buy it right now while it's on sale for $4, and then it goes in my queue and now I have 1,000 patterns in my queue. They're not all paid for patterns, but like I have enough patterns to choose from that I can take a year off. I can take 12 months off of not purchasing patterns. So yeah, so that's my first goal, is to shop my stash. I also would like to make 20 sweaters this year. That is an astronomical number for me. I don't think I will make it, but it gives me something to aspire to. I would like to make 24 pairs of socks. This one might be doable. I knit a lot of socks. I should also mention that any projects that I have currently as whips right now, I'm counting towards these goal numbers. So I think I have 3 sweater whips right now. Those are gonna go towards my 2024 sweater finishes. Even one of them, the majority was knit this past year. And then I would like to knit something from each of my knitting books. I have 3 in front of me, Star Wars Knitting the Galaxy, 52 Weeks of Socks, and 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. I also have one more, Salt and Timber. I want to start, there's a blanket pattern in there and a couple beautiful cardigans. So I want to choose something from each of these books to knit this year. And I also want to knit from some different designers. I don't believe I've ever knit anything by Isabel Kramer, but I have several of her patterns in my library. So I would really like to do that. That is it for my 2024 goals. In terms of make-alongs, I'm going to start the year off with a bang and do a second make-along right away. I'm going to do the Cozy Winter Reads and Knit Along. It's a terrible name, and this one is only going to be on Ravelry. I may tweak the name a little bit for Ravelry, and if I do, I'll have it linked below. Also, my Ravelry group will be linked below, so just click on the link if you would like to join. But this is basically read a book. I will let you know what I'm reading in case you want to read along with me, and make something. You can either knit or crochet, something book related. So it can either be a pattern that's got a book theme, like the Bibliophile 2 sweater, or a Feyre shawl from Court of Thorns and Roses, a pair of socks, or you can make whatever you want and use book themed yarn. So if you have any questions, I'll have more information below this video, and also on the Ravelry page I'll have all the rules listed there. There will be 2 instances where you can get a double entry. One will be if you take a picture of your book with your finished object, and again, the book and the finished object do not have to be related. The book can be anything. It can be a cookbook. Whatever it is that inspires you is totally open. So if you take a picture of a book and your project, you get a double entry, so you can put it in twice. And the other way to get a double entry is if you use a book themed pattern and book themed yarn. So a couple ways to get some double entries. And this will be, I was gonna do this one December through March, but I missed December. So we're gonna do it from January to, we'll go the end of April. I think April is in the Midwest and in some parts of the country can still be quite cold and gloomy. So we're gonna go until the end of April with this one. So I hope you enjoy it and let me know what you're knitting and reading. I always would like to know. Okay, this is really chatty today. I apologize. I have one other thing to show that was a gift from my family. I got this candle and it says, "It smells like Dehnel's knitting again." And I just thought this was the cutest little gift that they put in my stocking. So I don't know, I've never gotten so many knitting themed gifts from my family before. I think someone found Etsy, which is exciting. All right, really quick recap of why it's been such a long time. Oh my goodness, we're almost 10 minutes in and I haven't even shown any yarn. Well, our whole family, my husband's side of the family, went on a trip to a quick weekend getaway in the Wisconsin Dells. And our newest nephew, who is about 7, 8 months old, we thought he was teething. Turned out he was quite sick, and he got us all very sick. And my husband and I especially were sick for 3 weeks. Just terrible respiratory, you know, puffy face, sneezing, coughing, blowing my nose constantly. I actually did try to record an episode and I could not stop coughing. So I decided not to burden you all with that. And I deleted that video and we moved on. And then in the week before Thanksgiving, our daughter Claire, she was at Palms practice and her knee had been hurting for a while and she stepped weird and she ended up tearing her meniscus. And at first we didn't know it was Thanksgiving week here in the United States. I brought her to urgent care. They gave her crutches and a brace and I was like, oh, this is not gonna be a big deal. You're gonna be back dancing before the end of the season. I was really trying to like downplay it. Lesson learned. So then we took her for an x-ray and the doctor even said, I don't think there's a tear, but let's just do an MRI just to make sure. So she had an MRI and they're like, yeah, there's a bucket tear in there. And from the time we met with the surgeon until her surgery was 3 days. And I would have thought I would have so much knitting time, but when your kid goes into surgery, I don't know. It was rough. And she was fine. She was a trooper. She got through it all. But then, you know, it goes into recovery and then we went right into the holidays. And when you have a 15-year-old daughter who is used to dancing 10 plus hours a week, it's been rough. So we've been watching a lot of television. I think we watched every live action Disney movie that's on Disney Plus. We've been watching a lot of interesting television. And, you know, we've been spending a lot of time together. She and I went to see the Hunger Games movie in the theater. And yeah, we've just been hanging out a lot, but it's been a little stressful. And after your kid has surgery, there's like a week and a half where it felt like having a toddler again, because she, you know, she's on crutches. She can't do a lot of things on her own. So it was hard. But she is doing good. She's at school. She's in physical therapy now. We are on the road to recovery. She's very fortunate because she still has 2 more years of high school dance ahead of her. A couple other girls on the team also got injured this year and they were both seniors and never got to dance in a single competition this year. Claire at least got to dance in 2 competitions, but you know, she's still kind of sad about it. So that has been where I've been. And then the holidays happened and they're just busy in my life. I did not knit much for the holidays, but I did get 5 pairs of socks completed. So we will move into finished objects. I do not have the majority of the socks here to show you because I gifted them, but you can check my Ravelry. I do keep my projects in order. So I always give them the happiest smile and I keep my date completed always filled in, and that orders your projects in Ravelry by timeline. I don't like for things to get shuffled around. So even if I don't particularly like a project, I will still give it the smiley face so that I can look at it chronologically in Ravelry. That's just how I am. I know some people don't care, but that's how I am. So the last 5 pairs of socks are all what I finished. 3 of them were from sock tubes, which is how I was able to finish a couple gifts on time. These are the shorty socks I finished for my husband. These are using nomadic yarns in her Tweety base, and the color is Reformed Rakes Make the Best Husbands. So I made these for my husband, Nathan. And I used some Leading Men Fiber Arts in Darkest Hour just for the cuff. And these turned out really well. They match, the toes match really well. And these are 72 stitches. I made a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And these were just a lot of fun to make. I really, really loved knitting with this yarn and these colors. I just think this is one of the best colorways that I've used in a while. I really love Ashley's yarn. I knit a lot of it. In fact, my next finished object is also out of Ashley's yarn. This is the Autumnal Socks by the Kitchen Sink using Nomadic Yarns Yak Socks. And this is one of her Pride and Prejudice colorways called Most Ardently. And I love this one so much. I've been wearing these, so excuse the fuss, but the Autumnal socks have this patterning down the side, and I think they turned out really beautifully. So this one is 64 stitches, and I did a slip stitch heel and gusset. And this one I did an umbrella toe at the bottom because I was really getting sick of everything else. And I don't know if you can tell, but I think I like it. I think I'll do it again. It just has a slightly different shape, which is nice. I think it came together nicely. Sometimes the wedge toes, I just feel like they get kind of square at the end, and I don't feel like this one looks square at all. So I may use this one more, although I didn't particularly love doing it, but maybe I'll get used to it and then I will. And then I also finished the Coffee Run Collar by Samantha Guerin. This I used Sonder yarn. Their Sunday Morning 4-ply in the color Wildwood, and then I held it with their Halo Mohair in Boreal. Guys, I love this. So this turned out so gorgeously. So if you can tell, at the bottom you hold 2 strands of fingering together, then you drop one of those, you add the mohair, and it's just the most beautiful ribbing texture. The collar is so beautiful. You start in the back, and I didn't read the directions correctly, surprise, surprise. And so I did the back holding the fingering and the mohair, which is fine, it looks good. But then I didn't have enough mohair to really make this turtleneck long enough to fold, but I like how it fits. In fact, I can show you, hang on. So this is something I would 1,000,000% recommend. I love it. It looks so good. And so my plan with this, more than wearing it under a coat or something, which you could definitely do, but my plan is to wear this for work meetings. I tend to wear a hooded sweatshirt almost every day while I work at home. And I just thought, this looks really good, and I could just throw this on before a meeting and look a little bit more profesh. I also probably will wear it under coats as well because it's going to be super warm with the mohair. I don't think I mind that the turtleneck is not super high. For me, this fits perfectly, and I used every bit of the mohair. It is, in fact, I think I finished with 2 strands of fingering because I did run out. So I did the bind off in just fingering, but it comes down here, way past like my hip bones are here. So it goes down nice and far. And then the back is just like a little bib. So I really, really love everything about this. I haven't worn it yet because the temperature has just started to drop where I live. So I think as it gets colder, I'll definitely want to wear this. I love it. I don't know where to put it though. Like, I'm not sure if I should put it with my sweaters or if I should put it with my shawls. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna take this off and then we'll get into works in progress. My notes are from early December, so I'm just gonna go with the flow and change as needed. I'm gonna start with something I did spend a lot of time on, but I've decided to frog. And that is the Ruska cardigan that I was test knitting for S Knits. It is not at all that I don't like this project. It's a choice for me to decide not to finish it because I'm pretty far. I've done a lot of work on it, but I missed the test knitting deadline with everything that was going on, being sick and everything with Claire, sorry, mohair in my eye, which made me feel like a failure. I 100% know that I'm not a failure because I missed a test knitting deadline, but that started some bad feelings. And then I made a mistake on the bottom, which I'll show you why it's a big deal, because I was not willing to rip back because of how much work this is. And then with everything, I did not have Christmas spirit this year. I did not have wonderful holiday vibes. I don't know if it was just to do with Claire's injury or, so there was a lot of rearranging of our life, and a lot of the negativity that I was feeling ended up going into this project. So while I would still recommend this project to you. This process just started to hold some negative feelings for me. So I'm going to rip this out and it is going to become an alias, but I thought I would show you how far I got. So I finished the hem. But what I did wrong was here I did ribbing, broken ribbing, and this is supposed to be stockinette, which I like how that looks better. I had some trouble with the directions. I did one of the pockets, this side, and it wasn't fun. And I just didn't want to do the other one. Sometimes I look at this and I'm like, girl, finish it, but I don't want to. So I'm going to be taking this back, and it's got a bazillion ends. They're all over the place. So I'm going to be ripping this out, and I'm going to be starting an alias by Isabel Kramer with this yarn because I love this yarn. This is Lolo Did It, Whole Lot of DK in words. The things that I loved about this sweater at the beginning is the construction at the top. It is so good, and I think it's going to fit shoulders really well. On the bottom hem, you end up adding a lot of extra stitches and doing a lot of ribbing, and that is where I was kind of feeling like I don't want to fix it and I don't want to do it again. So I would definitely recommend this pattern. I won't even call it a negative. The only thing I didn't love about this pattern is that it was 34 pages long. And this is a me problem, not a pattern problem, but I didn't want to print out a 34-page pattern, which was my first error. I should have just printed it out, but instead I was printing out certain pages at a time and just like checking on my computer, and that's just not how I work best. I work best with a pattern that I can use my pen and mark up. And so I got lost in my own process, and again, my negativity came out in the sweater. So I'm just gonna say goodbye to it and start unraveling it and make something else with it that hopefully has some better feelings. Again, not the pattern's fault. I would definitely recommend trying this pattern out if you want a really wonderfully fitting cardigan, which is what I wanted. But yeah, the bottom hem and my mental state at the time were just not jiving, and it's okay. Sometimes that happens. And I will, with my 20 sweaters that I want to make this year, I want to make a handful of cardigans, and if they're not working, who knows, maybe I'll come back to this sweater at a different time, because I really did enjoy the process, and I think if I just was in a different state of mind, the hem would have been okay. But the hem as it is was not going to work for me, and I'm not going to do it again. So this yarn will be back in a different project, and that's great. I'm excited for that because I love that yarn so much. I love the color. I love Lolo Did It's Whole Lot of DK. I think it's a great yarn for a sweater, and yeah, it'll be back just in a different form. Okay, so I did start a new sweater. I'm not very far, so I'm not gonna go very into detail. I started the Douglas Cardi by Andrea Mowry, and I'm on the bottom hem. So if you'll remember, I had bought some Tuku wool from the Woolly Thistle. This was the bag it came in. I bought a kit from the Woolly Thistle, and I am using the same yarns that Andrea Mowry used in her pattern. So I don't know what they are, but here's the gray and a red. And then this kind of icy blue. And this mauve. That's looking kind of brown, but it's very purpley. And green. These are the colors. And this is a very rustic-y feeling yarn. So I've wanted to try this yarn for a long time, and I'm really interested to see how I like it, if it wears well, because I kind of feel like I make a lot of sweaters out of Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes, which is fine. It's affordable and I know I like it, but I'd like to try some other things just to see how they work and how the sweaters hold up. So I'm not very far. Hopefully next time I'll be a little further. That's kind of my first new cast on for 2024 is the Douglas Cardi. So hopefully I will finish this one because I'm sort of on a weird roll of not finishing things. But you know, we're getting there. I also, you guys, I'm almost finished. I just have to like pick it up and one evening I could be done. I still have my halu and I added a sleeve. So I finished one sleeve, finished the body. It's beautiful and lovely. This yarn is pineapple yarn in her Lanny DK. The colorway is Cook Pine. Unfortunately, I think I read that she is no longer dyeing yarn, which is so sad. But this lace yoke is just absolutely beautiful. The neckline is wonderful. I believe, I don't remember what I talked about last time, but I've done the neckline and up to this stitch marker twice because I was making a bobble. As you'll see, there's some bobbles in there. I was making a bobble and I pulled my yarn too hard and the bobble ripped out, and so did some of the stitches below it. And I think I'm a fairly good knitter. I'm not that good. So I could not recover from that. And so I went and I ripped the whole thing out because I was just gonna rip out to the neckline, but then I just thought might as well just do the neckline again. So I did, and it is beautiful. It's a little tight. Like not bad tight, but it's a little tight. I think I'm learning, Caitlin, I don't gauge swatch, which is one of my main problems. But I also think Caitlin Hunter has a really tight gauge compared to most knitters and also me. I've made her Tecumseh and that worked out fine because it was super oversized, but this is a little tight. So I'm hoping with blocking, it'll just relax a little. I know that I didn't want the neckline like gaping. I didn't want to be one of those necklines that's like coming off my shoulder. But I'm wondering if after the neckline I should have gone up a size. But we'll see. I may end up adding a little length to the body. I'm gonna finish the second arm, block it, and see where we land. So hopefully I will have this done by the next time we meet, because as much as I love it, and I know you guys love the color and everything, I think we're ready for this to be done. I think we are. I have been alternating skeins, even on the arm. I alternated skeins. And then you also do this lace panel on the arm. And I think that's really nice. There's also a bobble, right? Yeah, there's a bobble on the arm. I really wanted to finish this for the holidays, but motivation was really hard to come by. It's coming back, but it was a hard couple months there between being sick and having an injured child. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a ton of this yarn left over. I may even have enough to make like another small sweater or something else. What that something else is, I don't yet know, but there's possibilities. I have a lot of yarn left over because I bought enough to make a much larger sweater than I ended up making, and that's okay, that happens. It's so pretty. I just need to finish it. Finish it, block it, decide if I need to add more length, and move on with my life. All right, what else do we have here? Okay, we're getting close to the end. I also picked up again the zigzag scarf. Let me see who this is by because I don't remember. If I didn't mention, the halu is by Caitlin Hunter, Boylan Knitworks, and this is the zigzag scarf by Christy Cam. And I'm using Mint Rain hand dyed in Rebellions Are Built on Hope, which is a Rogue One colorway. It's one of my favorite yarns. This is, I think, the third skein I bought of this yarn colorway because I love it so much. And then I'm also using Leo and Roxy MCN in McSteamy, and it is a lot of fun. This was kind of my mindless knitting, let's get through the nights and the days that I've been working on. It's a very easy, memorizable stitch pattern, and it makes these little chevrons. And I think it's designed for like 2 variegated yarns, but I'm using a variegated and a solid to give it kind of a stripy appearance. When I first started this last year, I felt like it was going to be way too much, and now I'm like, this is just enough. I really love it. So you can really see how it looks. It's fun to work on, and yeah. So here's the McSteamy, and here's Rebellions Are Built on Hope. So I wanted to make something for myself out of Rebellions Are Built on Hope, and I made my sister a pair of socks and my son a pair of socks, and I didn't want to make socks again, so that's where this came in. And this is what the back side looks like. So pretty much reversible. You can just see like the pearl bumps a lot more. So this has kind of been my meditative, like when I don't know what to pick up, this is what I've been picking up, and I've enjoyed working on it. Okay, and my last whip for today, I can't believe we're already there, is my Advent socks by Woolens. I got the Advent sock skein from Woolens and Nosh, and I finished the first sock. Oh, it is past Advent. If you haven't completed yours or you're saving it or something, look away, but I think I'm far enough in the future that you guys can, I don't have to like do spoilers or anything. So here's the first one. I really like this sock. I think this sock base is so good. My gauge using a 2.25 millimeter US 1 needle feels real tight with her yarn always, but I kind of like it. It makes a little bit of a stiffer, woollier feeling sock, but I like it. So this was her Christmas colorway. It went through here. So then these were the extra days that I put on. I even felt like I made the leg long, but now when I look at it, I really didn't make it that long. But I really like it. And so this was the colorway that came with it. And it's also between her stripes. So this has 24 stripes. And then I just did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I tried it on, it fits really well, fits my foot nicely. And I did start the second sock because I'm gonna be sitting watching my kid do physical therapy for the next few months. So I started the second sock and I'm working on that. I also have another pair of socks that I'm working on from Milo that I was hoping to finish for Christmas, but I didn't, from a sock blank, but I haven't picked those up in a long time. And then the other thing that I was going to share is this year I would like to finish a few blankets. You guys recently saw my Bits and Bobs blanket that I finished the actual knitting of. Now I just have to add the I-cord bind off, and I was not in the state of mind to do that. I'm thinking New Year, let's do a bind off. Let's complete my longest languishing whip. Let's finish it. I would really like to. And so then I was thinking about what other blanket I really enjoy working on, and that is my Scraptastic Stash Busting blanket by Samantha Johnston, I think. And while I love this a lot, I was doing magic knot balls and one of my knots came undone. So here we are, here it is. Let's see if I can find, I better be able to find, yeah. Here is where my knot came undone. So this is the most lovely, scrumptious, wonderful, everything good. I love working on this. It's just garter. It is, the colors make me happy. The softness of the yarn makes me happy. I love this a lot and I want to get back to it. But what I think I'm going to do before I do is go through and find, if I can, most of my knots and add some glue to them, that fabric glue. And I think I'm going to unravel to here and redo that magic knot and then pick it up again. Is it the end of the world? No. Do I want to do it? No. But I'm going to, because I don't think I can live with this and the fear of it coming undone. It's only, what, like an inch, maybe an inch and a half. It'll be good. And then I can get back to working on this winter, and it'll make me very, very, very happy. This one has my Angry Uterus progress keeper. And yeah, so I love this. I want to get back to it because this project brings me so much joy. My two Knit Magic knot balls that I'm working from right now are, this is what they look like. And then I'm going to be making some more with some Advent mini skeins that I know one of them is Lantern Light Yarns. Maybe they all are. I did an Advent from Lantern Light Yarns, I think last year. I don't know if that's correct. I'm not sure. I don't recall exactly where this one came from. I know it was a Narnia one. No, it was something Holly. I will put it below the screen or list it below, but so that I have more than enough yarn. And if this does not get me to the end of this blanket, I have a lot of scraps still because I did not utilize my scraps minis and more make along like I thought I would. So I just wanted to give an update on that and re-inspire myself to work on it, because the other day I felt like working on a blanket, and I pulled out my Scrappy Memories blankets and I was like, oh, this just feels like a lot of work right now. Sometimes I just want to knit garter, and that's why that blanket is so perfect for me. And I don't, if it's not a free pattern, it's not an expensive pattern, this blanket pattern. And what I like is it's got a beautiful I-cord edge on each side, and it creates a square. So right now we're increasing, and then we get to a point where we're going straight for a while, and then we decrease, and then it's gonna be phenomenal. I'm so excited. But yeah, I also have a sophomore in high school, and I would like to finish a Cozy Memories blanket for her by the time she finishes high school, which does not feel doable. Maybe it'll be when she graduates college, because sometimes I get into a great rhythm with Cozy Memories, and then I'll let it sit for 6 months. So either I have to commit to like putting on 2 squares a week, or just maybe extending that deadline. We'll see. Okay, well, that is it for the knitting. I talked about my goals for next year. I would love to hear what your goals are and what you're working on. It's been a while, so let me know what you're working on. And yeah, and if you're reading anything good, let me know. If you've decided on a book and a project for the make along, let me know that as well. And if you are only here for the knitting, it is done now. I'm going to talk about all the books that I read. It is not going to be long. I'm not going to go into detail on most of these books because it is a lot. Only the ones that I either particularly loved or particularly didn't love, I will kind of expand on a bit. But I'm really just going to talk about what I've been reading and what I'm reading now. So if that's your cue to leave, I'll see you next time. And if you're hanging in there for book club, thanks so much. I'm just going to take a sip of tea. So I finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books since we last talked. That's a lot. I mean, it's been almost 2 months, so that feels about right for me. So I finished The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I gave that 3 stars. And then I finished It's Not Summer Without You, also by Jenny Han, which I gave 3 stars. 3 stars is maybe generous. I read those because Claire and I watched the show The Summer I Turned Pretty. I didn't really have interest in it, but she started talking to some of my friends about it, and then I was like, well, if people my age are watching it, let's watch it. And plus we had a lot of time on our hands, so we watched the series, and I actually liked the TV show better than the books. I thought the books were kind of flat. So I gave them 3 stars. There was nothing wrong with them, but they weren't great. I also finished Pure Antsy by Susanna Clark. I gave that 3 stars. Not my kind of book. My sister adored this book, and I was like, ooh, I never really got into it. Stop. And then I finished The Body Finder by Kimberly Derting, I think that's how you say her name. I gave that 4 stars. This was a reread for me. It's a very young adult kind of mystery thriller. I read it probably 4 times. It's a fast, quick, easy, fun read about a woman, or a young girl who can kind of sense murdered people and animals, and she's kind of drawn to them by an echo. It was a concept that I like, and there's a sweet little romance in there, and it hits some boxes for me, and I like that one. Then I read Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll, 4 stars. I really, really like that book. It's fictional, kind of telling of some of the victims of Ted Bundy, but they never mentioned Ted Bundy by name. I think it's handled really well. It was a great book. I would highly recommend that one. Love at First Sight by Cara Bastone, 2 stars. I'm done with Audible originals. They're just not good. It's not my thing. We Are All the Same in the Dark by Julia Haberlin. I gave this 4 stars. My mom also read it and did not like it at all. I thought it was pretty good. There's definitely it's one of those kind of stories where you have a first half and a second half, and I can see how that would turn some people off. For me, it worked. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Then I read Full Measures by Rebecca Yarros. I gave that 3 stars. I'm reading a lot of Rebecca Yarros books right now, and some of them I like a lot better than others. Obviously, Iron Flame is gold standard for her. Some of her earlier romances they're just okay, and this one is just okay. Then I read Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. You guys, I didn't know. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't know it was like a 50 Shades of Grey. I had no idea. So those of you who maybe picked it up because I recommended it and maybe for a make-along, I hope you're okay with super kind of gross spice. I did not love it. A, I wasn't expecting it to be so spicy. And B, someone with a figure skating background, I was like, oh, this just isn't, some of it just isn't realistic to me. So I didn't love it. But I told my daughter saw that I was reading it. She's like, you're reading that book? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, some of my friends have read it. And I was like, your friends read this? Like, I was like, oh, goodness gracious. So anyway, read at your own risk. Not what I was expecting. I probably should have done a little bit more research before picking that one up. Then I read It's a Date Again by Geneva Rose, 3 stars. I shouldn't say never. 75% of the time, I never see a twist coming. I saw this twist from the get-go. I thought it was okay. 3 stars. I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, 3 stars. I don't really remember that one. Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, 4 stars. I liked that one. Little bit of magic, not too much. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. When We Collided by Emery Lord, 3 stars. That was a very young adult, and it reminded me of, there was a movie with Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell in the 1990s. And she was like this wild girl that lives across the lake from him. It felt very much like that movie. It was fine. Same Time Next Year by Tessa Bailey, 3 stars. I read that one because I was just, at that point, I was like, maybe I can hit 100. And that was only like 2.5 hours of listening time for me. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, 4 stars. I actually really liked this. When this book first came out, and even when the movie came out, I had no interest in reading this, even though I love the Hunger Games books, the first trilogy. I had no interest in President Snow's story, and for many reasons, I thought it was a fantastic book and a fantastic movie. So highly recommend if you were a skeptic like me. I really liked it. Very Anakin Skywalker vibes, just where you're sort of rooting for the enemy, and it does a great job of shifting, where by the end you're like, well, here we go. I thought it was really good. I loved it. And I don't think I'm ruining anything because everybody knows who President Snow becomes. All right, and then I read Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross, 4 stars. I was really looking forward to this. This was the sequel to Divine Rivals, which was one of my 5-star books from the past year. I loved Divine Rivals. I liked Ruthless Vows. It was good. Sometimes when your first book's that good, it's hard to follow it. It was good. It was good, but Divine Rivals was so good. I'll probably read it again, the whole duology, because I really love Divine Rivals. There's just something so, her tone in Divine Rivals, you feel like you're living in their world, and I just felt like some of that magic was gone in the sequel, but the world had changed in the sequel, so it happens. Then I read Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I gave that 2 stars. I didn't really like it. This was my first Frida McFadden book. I hear a lot about her, and it was very Harlan Coben-ish to me. So I don't know if I'll try another one or not. It was fine, and it was a quick read, but I didn't love it. And then I just finished this morning Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, 3 stars. It's a book about quitting drinking, but there's also a lot of feminist undertones to it, maybe even overtones, and recovering from addiction in general. I am doing a dry-ish January, and I just kind of wanted to read something to get me motivated. While there's a lot of good and interesting information in there, it doesn't feel like it was written for someone like me who has 2 kids and a partner, and is kind of like doesn't have the freedom to just like make big sweeping changes in my apartment or whatever. So that's my biggest thing. Plus I think she went off the rails a few times, but it was an interesting read, and I wouldn't not recommend it, but it wasn't my favorite. So anyway, right now I am reading The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. So if you are into a romance, I would recommend this one. My mother read it before me. My mom lives 1 house away from me, if you didn't know. So we do share books periodically. I don't share spicy books with her, and I don't share fantasy books with her, but like something like this, I thought maybe she would like. And she said that she liked it, but she thought it was a bit rushed. And then I think the author's note says she wrote the book in a week, and my mom said, you can tell. So I think this is one of her earlier books. And then I'm also reading The Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. I just started this on Audible this morning. It's not bad. It's just not what I was expecting, but not in the same way Icebreaker was not what I was expecting. So all right, that is all I have for today. A nice long episode for you. I will probably cut some of the jibber jabber out, but thank you if you've hung on this long. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I'm really glad that you choose to spend time with me, especially when I am gone much longer than anticipated. All right, I will be back in a few weeks, and hopefully we'll have some finished objects to share with you then. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.